Well, our next agenda item is June exercises, and we are going to have Ann discuss that with us.
Got together with the drill team, lovely people who have kind of done this with me before. So it's not just coming out of my head, it's a shared responsibility and shared good ideas. This is our scenario: a regional power grid failure 3 days prior to the start of the second match of the World Cup Games. And when we say regional power grid failure, this is the Bonneville Power Plant, which I believe is Oregon. Anyway, so it's not just Seattle out of power, it's a lot of places. So this is a power down kind of scenario. These are the locations, the dates. So the first one is Saturday, June 7th, noon to 4 is the time. It's not our time, but it's the time that we're open to the public, kind of. El Centro de la Raza. And then the second date is June 22nd, which is a Sunday, Maple Leaf Park. We had told you before that it was going to be North Seattle College. I've gone back and forth with them about the cost. It is prohibitive. The deal they could give me was $1,000 plus $5 for every car. I said, thanks, but no, we don't
Wow.
have the budget for that. So Maple Leaf Park is where we're headed. Our battle rhythm has kind of been in June. We do kind of a group exercise early in the summer so that if individual hubs want to do their own drills later in the summer, there's time. So June is kind of when the network sponsors drills, whether it's a lot of little drills or two big ones like we're doing this year. These are the goals for this year's exercise. We do want to do a shift change. We want to push response capabilities hub volunteers. So basically, we're getting a lot of the public to come and again, kind of overwhelm all of our volunteers and figure out where our weak points are. We want to manage language barriers and stressed neighbors. So many of us just went through a psychological first aid class. We are going to find some actors and have them be a little bit more upset when they approach the hub, whether that's mad or just stressed or whatever, but just making us practice those first aid principles that most of us learned. We are looking to establish a separate medical area. It won't be super complex, but something along those lines. And then not much radio traffic in this drill. In years past, we have spent a lot more time and energy on passing radio messages. This drill, not as many, but a little bit of radio involvement. And then, as always, we're trying to educate the public about the existence of the hubs. So nothing outlandish. Our goals are pretty reasonable. This is our timeline. We probably are going to start setting up before 11 a.m. But noon, the exercise begins. I'm just pointing out a few timeline things. 2:15 is when the second shift would approach the first shift to do a turnover. And then immediately after that turnover, we're going to give them a little break, but we want that first shift to gather with an appointed person and do a debrief. And then the exercise continues, and then we stop at 3:45. We stop. We immediately do a debrief with that second set of volunteers. This is the lovely poster that has been designed by our own Bill Nolan, who's on the call here. Maybe a little bit of tweaking, but we're getting there as far as the promotional materials that we need to get out to you guys. We're getting ahead of the outreach plan. I was going to write a grant, a big grant, a $50,000 grant. I missed the deadline for that, my bust. Going to write a smaller grant, going to include in there a photographer. Linda Norland, who's part of the promotions committee, thought about the situation and went, wow, let's get some really good pictures. Pictures when we're not in masks, because that's what we've had for the last couple of years. Linda's going to kind of babysit this photographer and tell them what to take pictures of, because a lot of times the folks that we get to take pictures or video don't really understand what they're looking at, and we don't get great quality. So photographer is hopefully going to be on board. The other idea, good, Matt's here. I was talking to Matt Blank about this last night, doing a photo booth of somebody goes through. So this is for the public. Somebody goes through the hub system, and then we pull them aside and we say, if you answer one question and we're allowed to record you, we'll give you a prize. And that prize is going to be like I don't know, a book on disaster preparedness or tool to shut off your gas or whatever. We've got plenty backpacks. We've got plenty of stuff to give away. Anyway, we want to put them in a photo booth and ask them one quick question like, what do you think of this system? Or do you feel more prepared? Or would you stand up and help your neighbors or whatever? Our thought is to do this at the El Centro location. It tends to be a more diverse audience. And Matt has volunteered to set that process up, and he's already got somebody that will do the admin side of it because he's kind of the technical side of it. But I thought that'd be a really nice way to get some feedback from our customers and be able to record them and use them down the road for commercials or the new website or whatever. Yeah, those two ways of taking advantage of our efforts are in the works. So we're going to have a web page that's really simple to get to. It's seattleemergencyhubs.org/unplugged, because that's the name of this year's exercise. Matt worked it out with me. It's super easy to create. I'll get on it as soon as I can, and we'll be able to send people to a website so they can get more information.
Are you hoping that each of us do outreach in our own community and
Yes.
and make posters and distribute them and those kind of things?
No, not
Oh.
make posters. We will try and get the network or this grant to pay for that because posters are not cheap.
Yeah.
But as far as giving you the verbiage so that you can send it out to your mailing lists, put it on your Facebook page, however you do your outreach, we're going to try and give you the right words and maybe a couple pictures for you to send it out electronically. If you want to hang posters, great, but we all know how labor intensive that is.
So the next item on our agenda is from Cindy. It is the 2025 HubMap update.
It's been 2 years since we updated our printed map. Our online map is always updated as new hub captains change or we confirm people. And so this printing of the map, the last time we updated, we didn't elect, but we sort of got helped into inputting into WebEOC because that was how the OEM wanted to help us this time, since their main contribution to us is still just, it's a data-driven system. I do not know how to do it. Our only expert is, and Catherine would like to hand this off to someone for the next update. So we're looking for a volunteer who's got, database or, it's managing data. It's just making sure that the spreadsheet that Ann and I provide with all the changes gets inputted into the WebEOC ArcGIS. So anybody who is familiar with ArcGIS, thanks, Jeff, because my next topic will be email transition. So several of us have been doing experiments with Google Groups. I've had serious reservations because it's the learning curve for some people on some of the Google suites, especially those with Macs, I thought might be heavier than the lift that it looks like. So I think we can do this. If you're a Gmail user already, it's going to be completely invisible to you. But what I need is 5 people who do not have any Gmail account that I can put onto a practice list and I can send some emails to, and we see what it's like for you to do that.
Cindy, it looks like the next item is
5.
another technical item for you, potential newsletter forward unsubscribe problem.
It has happened to someone else recently. If you get our newsletter, I'm just warning you this because we'll send a newsletter out that you can forward on to people because of the upcoming exercise. But MailChimp has this weird quirk where if you forward it to someone, and I'm going to use Ann, she forwards it to someone, they can look at that and they go, I didn't want this. And they will go down to the bottom and they'll go unsubscribe. And what that will do is unsubscribe Ann, not who that was forwarded to. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to forward those newsletters to anybody, remember to strip out that little line about unsubscribe at the bottom. I've been unsubscribed, I can't tell how many times, and it takes an administrative act of God to add somebody back into MailChimp. So I will try and remind people when I send out the newsletter, but I just wanted to let you hear that and go, okay, maybe that's why I stopped getting the newsletters, is somebody unsubscribed me and Cindy didn't know, right? So if we happen to say in the last newsletter that went out and you didn't get it, talk to me.
Chris, looks like you're up next. May 4th, Firefighters Appreciation Day on the agenda.
May 4th is Firefighters Appreciation Day. One of the community groups I'm involved with, we're looking at trying to do letters to, or cards to send to our local fire station. Recommended as a good piece and a good outreach opportunity for the firefighters in your area.
I'm going to try and stop by one of my stations and just do a little schmoozing.
The agenda item is ACS ICS 217 channel update.
Every year or two, the Auxiliary Communication Services team, our radio volunteers with the city of Seattle, go through a channel check to make sure that all the stations and channels they have programmed in their radios are still the ones they want. If a new repeater's been put up, it's their chance to add them in. What it means to us is that if they change any of the channels that we already have copied from theirs and put into ours, it may change them. They were supposed to release that last month and then it got delayed. So once it comes out, we will know whether or not we're going to have to tell everybody, you're going to have to get your radios reprogrammed, or if their changes are above where our channel sets are. So I just want to give a heads up to everybody to watch for any information that says, heads up, we have a problem with our radios. We'll want to get that. Maybe Ed's got the latest. I missed the last ACS meeting. Ed?
Yes, I'm actually part of the committee that's handling that. So here's what's happening. The ham radio bands, you take your ham radio, you listen, they don't seem very busy, but it turns out that pretty much all the frequencies are allocated. A lot of hobbyists, a lot of experimental stuff out there. They've run out of room. So Western Washington, it's not ACS, it's not hubs, it's all of Western Washington. They're going to reassign all the frequencies and pack them closer together. They were at a 20 kilohertz spacing. They're going to go down to 12.5 kilohertz spacing. And so it's a massive undertaking, and it's going to be a slow process. The PSRG repeater, which is the ACS main repeater, will be one of the last ones changed because it's so complicated. And what it means to us is that probably none of the GMRS channels are changing, but eventually we will need to reprogram all the radios that want to have the up-to-date information on the ham channels. That won't happen for a while. So probably the next 217 that comes out won't have a lot of changes. But over the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of changes. So that's where we are now.
Good information. Thank you. Next item, Anne, the agenda item is submitting calendar events.
Real quick for the group, there's a lot of new folks here, so please keep the acronyms down. On a typical meeting, there's not much radio talk. What you just heard was very techie kind of stuff. A lot of that is discussed at other meetings, so if your head blew up a little bit, don't fret. I just want to mention that we have a form that you can fill out that the results are sent to Cindy and I, and it gives us all the information we need to put your events up on the Hub calendar. So I will send that link out with the minutes from this meeting with the follow-up. It just helps us, instead of us going back and forth about what verbiage do you want, where is it at, what time is it? We force you to fill out this form, and it forces you to give us all the information we need so we can put it up on the calendar in one quick swipe. So anyway, there's a form for that. We'll be sending it out.
Next item is also you and Hub 101 instructor packet.
Thank you. So kind of back to that battle rhythm again that I talked about earlier with the drill. What the North Seattle hubs are doing is there are 2, maybe 3 locations that are hosting what we call a Hub 101, which basically is you invite as many people from your community as you can, and they come and they sit around tables and we demonstrate and we make them play along. How does a hub work? So it's kind of like a drill, it's just indoors. We're doing a couple in May with the idea that we're getting folks prepared for what they might see in June. The reason this is on the agenda is Cindy and I and a group of folks that are trying to help us standardize training. We're trying to get this packet together so that everybody teaches the same way. And it's very much a plug and play program where we've given you all the tools, we've given you the agenda, all the teaching points. We're trying to be able to put something in your hands so that you can teach these classes yourself. It hasn't progressed as fast as I wanted it to, and that's my fault. Not enough hours in the day. So for me, teaching those classes in May, at least on the north end, will help me solidify this packet of information. It's very difficult to take what is in my head and Cindy's head and anybody else that teaches this often. It's hard to get it out of our head into somebody else's head for it to make sense. It's sometimes complex. Is there anybody else besides the couple of spots in North Seattle that are planning on planning on a Hub 101 event?
So I imagine there'll be one in West Seattle. Frank Gall has been running one in Central West. He's been working, he's taken kind of like 101 and a half, 101, 101 and a half, and broken out the agendas and spread them across 3 meetings. But I've been using the same agenda that you and I have been working on. So we still get more test driving. The only one I'm not sure of, and it's because I just met that hub captain, is one might come up at Mount Baker, because they're just getting going too. And that can be kind of a broad one for people in the Southeast.
Put of this whole conversation is I think Cindy and I are going to keep teaching these at least through early summer until we have a more solid packet that we can hand off to someone if you want to teach your own. I really enjoy teaching. I'm happy to teach, but if you want to do it, we want to be able to give you a plug and play kind of program to make that happen.
We're planning to do a session of Diane Camber's tabletop game in May. And I know you guys have been talking with her about that, and sort of she's been tweaking it. I think I played like, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th iteration of it, and she's constantly updating that. So that's what we're doing. That's the closest thing we're doing to 101.
Next item, Cindy, back to you. Blivet orientation.
This comes out of our continued partnership with Seattle Public Utilities. I went to a workshop for emergency managers on water distribution. And in that class were some of the Seattle Public Utilities folks. And we talked about, so what's the plan for Seattle? What's it look like? And so called blivets, it develops these things on the left-hand side. They're really just like giant water bottles. And when they're empty, they just fold up on a pallet, and they are able to be towed to a distribution location, hooked up to what's called a hardened water hydrant, the fire hydrant, into the blivet. And the thingy over on the thingy, because I don't know what they call it, other than it's a milking system, it is a distribution point where each of those is a nozzle. And the distribution system is actually a volunteer stands at each of those nozzles with bags, and they slam the bag on the nipple, and it fills with water, and they take it off and it seals. They hand it to a person and say, there's your liter of water, next in line. So that is the plan. That's what the system was built to be like. And then COVID. And so they built it, and they have not had much time to practice with it. Start thinking about how they're going to deploy them. The reason it's on the agenda is because they deploy them. They are very interested in the big important thing is, as you can see, it's going to take some Seattle Public Utilities staff to move them and set them up, but it's going to take a lot more than Seattle Public Utilities can provide to do the milking of the water bottle. So we're sort of like, that would be really something that if we had volunteers standing around who didn't have anything to do, could we send them to you over at because that lets us see what the system is like, and let's help get hands-on to understand what this is really going to be like. So we're kind of playing with that water system go down. So I just wanted everybody to see it so that when we started talking about blivets and water distribution, they're trying to set up a demonstration day, and we asked for them to put it on a weekend so that as many hub captains can come as possible, and y'all can do some hands-on stuff. Nothing is more interesting than learning how your blivets are pretty common. I think what's unique is what's the plan system. And then that gives us time. This is probably 7 years old now because this was done before COVID. They're not even sure if the pipes are still flexible. They may have to do some repairs before they can put it into
Hundreds
work.
of these?
So,
So
no,
the city
6.
has,
They have 6 of them
I see.
for 800,000 people. So, you can clearly see that they have to put some thought into where they're going to go.
All right, next item, promotion committee report, and that is Linda.
Thanks. I just want to give a tiny recap for the 5 or so new people who are here tonight. At our last retreat, we set up a promotion committee to look at all the print and other media of the Hub network. And the committee is Gabrielle Gerhardt, Erica Harnett, Matt Blank, and Kurt Guthroff, and myself. And we have done a audit of all the print and other things that the Hub network has. We've done also a preliminary content inventory of the Hub website in advance of getting a new design for the Hub website and also a new graphic identity for the Hub network. We now think that that work will probably happen in the early fall, a little bit later than we thought, but there is an advantage to a slight delay because we think that it might be a good idea to also look at the Hub name, the name of the overall network, just to see if it needs some refining also. So we're not prepared to do that, have that discussion tonight, but to help us frame that discussion when we do have it, we would like you to fill out a very brief survey that we've made. And that's the link that I put on the chat. It's only 4 questions, wouldn't take you a long time. You don't have to do it right now, but we'll have it in the recap of the meeting. You can get it later if you need to. Anyway, that would be very helpful to us. And if anybody has any questions, that would be fine. But as I said, we're not going to get into the discussion about the Hub name tonight. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. We'll make sure we get that link into the agenda notes that goes out. All right, next item, sharing best practices. I'd be happy to kick off, not with my idea, but I have been following the Seattle Hubs, Seattle Emergency Hubs, whatever it is, on social media and seeing the great posts that are coming up. And I commented on one today. And if you see those and you're following them, I think this one was on Facebook. By commenting, we're getting some action, we're driving some more attention to it, and more people in Seattle will see it. So I made a comment, said I thought it was a great post, and then I added something that we did at our house. Anyone else have any Hub or emergency preparedness best practices they want to share? Any ideas?
I'd like to share that the Rainier Beach Hub is doing sort of a mini radio check and drill this Saturday. We're going to go to various locations throughout our neighborhood and see if there are any dead spots, places where we can't hear each other, get a sense of how the transmissions, how clear they are over longer distances, that sort of thing.
All right, next item on around the room. So we usually start in Northwest. So anybody in Northwest Seattle have any around the room announcements?
Yeah, in Finney, we're planning a tabling blitz this spring and summer. We're going to create a info table kit, like a plastic bin. And we actually have a smaller table, like 2.5 feet by 4, maybe. And so we have the farmer's market at Finney. Of course, we don't want we wouldn't show up there every day, and so we have a sign-up list for our Hub helpers. And then we have Ken's Burger Day. I wasn't aware that Ken's Market had a burger day, and then we have the Greenwood Car Show. But also, if something just pops up, the idea is if we have 2 people that want to go do it, we just, okay, who has the kit, drive by, pick it up, and go staff it. Whenever I've done skill fairs, it seems like the best outreach is talking to that other person across the table. They really get a sense of what the Hub is. So I'm hoping to have those kind of experiences.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else from Northeast Seattle that would like to share?
This is past history. In February, we took advantage of a event that's been held for years at the Bitter Lake Community Center as a pancake breakfast, and we set up a skills fair there, and it was pretty awesome because the pancake breakfast attracted a lot of traffic, so I didn't really have to do a lot of advertising, and I think we got a lot of information passed out and got, probably a dozen people maybe saying that they're interested in, being a volunteer at the Hub. So that was pretty good. So I think lesson learned is look around your community and see what kind of events are going on and, just tail off of them.
Yeah, I just want to add in that for the Hub 101 on May the 13th at 7 p.m., it's going to be at the Lamb of God Lutheran Church, which is on Northeast 125th. It's just right one block west of the library in Lake City. And we would welcome anybody for whom that date works to come and join us.
And then I wanted to share that we've been doing simplex GMRS nets every week in the Northeast, with people alternating in this area, and that's been really interesting to test out the simplex range. And there's actually been a lot of participation some weeks. So if anybody else is in Northeast, get the word out.
Matt, what day of the week is that?
It's Mondays.
It's the Monday at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and we start the simplex net at 8:15, and we've been using channel 3, which is shared with FRS too. So really anybody can join if they have a license or not.
Great.
Great. Beverly, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, this is something that's not specific to my hub or to the Northeast, but in general, there was a fabulous first aid AED CPR class last Sunday that Ann and I went to, and I don't think any other hub captains were there, but especially with our move towards providing a medical something in the future. And even if we weren't, it was a great class. A lot of the preparation can be done online, so you don't go there and listen to somebody talk and talk and talk. You do it at your own pace. You go there just for the practical stuff.
Was that the one taught by our hub captains from the Church of Scientology?
Yes. Yeah, it was great.
I have a question, whether anybody has ever thought about night out and had materials to provide each neighborhood. Has that been happening?
Always.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious to know what stuff you provide, or do you just put up a table and, I mean, so we could talk offline, but I'd just like some information about how that works.
In the Southwest precinct, our coordinator lets us distribute, they have swag bags that they hand out to the people in this precinct. So we put a hub card in each one of their swag bags. So we go through about 500 postcards, and they have all the West Seattle hubs on them. And also we take individual packets and have ridden around on bikes, because the public facing map will show you all the SNAP groups in your neighborhood. Night Out for Jeff is the National Night Out for Public Safety, or it used to be National Night Out to Fight Crime. So block watch groups did it.
It's the first Tuesday in August, which in Seattle is usually primary night as well.
Yeah.
It'll be August 5th this year.
Real quick for the north side, I just recently reached out to, we have two, what are they called? They're community engagement folks that work with the police department. I can't remember their exact title, but there's two folks that have that position in the north side. The north side typically has never done swag bags.
Right.
I can reach out and see if they're going to do that, but my guess is no. That's really more of a Southwest thing. The other thing was, what I learned was, if you reach out to them, they will reach out to block watch captains near your hub location. If those block watch captains are comfortable with it, these community safety, whatever they're called, they will send you those email addresses so that you can make contact with them.
Okay.
On the hub map that's on our website, there are some block watch captains that have chosen to put themselves on those maps. We believe there are many more that have chosen not to post themselves there. But again, I wish I could remember, crime prevention coordinators, that's what they are. You can reach out to them, at least in the north end. They will tell you who's in your area if that person has given you permission, given them permission to share their information. So a really good resource for our hubs is to find those block watches and engage with them, because they send information out to their neighbors that they know. It's more likely to be read if it's coming from someone they know. So that's how it works in the north end.
Thank you.
That's a good
Thanks,
reminder. Yeah. I we definitely haven't had anything distributed typically, but for past couple of night outs, I have ridden around to some of the ones that are within a half mile or so of my hub and just introduced myself and some people have wanted flyers, so I just brought the trifold brochure. Some people were saying that they were expecting somebody to come from the city or from the fire department, and nobody ever did, except so they thought it was just me that was representing. But um, for some reason, they all had that idea that there was going to be a fire truck coming by or
They
some.
they do it very poorly. They, on their form, they say, would you like someone to stop by?
Okay.
Police, fire, Office of Emergency Management. And so everybody reads that as, I checked yes, so they're going to come, and they don't
Okay.
read the fine print that says, we get 900 requests and we only have 6 people,
Previous night outs, I have taken all the written material to a table in our street when we do this, and also to attract attention, I have also taken my earthquake or disaster boxes with me, and people are going, what is in there? So they come over and they look, and they look at my cans of tuna fish or whatever. And anyway, it starts some conversation.
In Whittier Heights, the community council, we used to just go and walk around the neighborhood, which is pretty well defined, and see, one, how many blocks are having a night out. They're not always registered on the police map. And for me, that was a great opportunity. By the way, over at Kirka Park, we have a hub, and do you know what a hub is? And et cetera, et cetera. And you get a lot of cross learning there too, because some of these blocks are very highly organized and have their own little setups for helping each other out and all of that. So if you have a community organization in your area that, try something like that, just survey which blocks in your community are active, tell them about your hubs. There's a lot of great cross-pollination there. So.
Thank you, Hugh.
I meet regularly with the crime prevention coordinator for East Precinct. So if anybody in my neck of the woods needs help with that, just let me know. And echoing what Hugh said, it's a really good activity to go around because not all of them, are listed. And something that I did when we were running flyers last year was take a photo, just of the street or whatever, so that then I would have that recorded as the GPS of where that location was, for kind of finding it next year.
Good idea. All right, I think we've gone through, Ellen? Yes, please go.
We also are working on outreach ideas and appreciate Jim's from Finney. We're also putting together kind of a table and an outreach box bag. And we were at the Sound Transit Station in late January trying to catch people who were coming home, and that was kind of an interesting experience trying to make contact with everybody with earplugs in and on their way to Whole Foods or who knows where people were going. So it was a good try anyway to see how that works, but otherwise we'll be probably working in front of Whole Foods and Safeways for a little bit better communication options, I think, instead of like a Hub 101, because we are still needing more people to work with us, hoping to do more of an emergency prep intro to hubs kind of a meeting this spring.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else from Northeast? Anyone from Central West have something they'd like to share? Frank?
Yeah, Bill and I are going to make a presentation at the Magnolia Library May 8th, sort of an open house between 4 and 7:30, using the presentation that Cindy and I did with Magnolia Community Council. And the main point of that is to get as many people as we can interested in the field exercises, because you can look at the charts, you can look at the cards and all this, but it's really experiential. So if all you do is one of you guys come out from a PTA and take a look, then you can go back and tell the other people at the PTA what's going on. So it's a final push to get people out to go to either one or both of those field exercises.
Great. Anyone else from Central West?
Well, I'll just speak up the fact that I'm in transition. I've moved from Queen Anne to Magnolia, so I'm working with Frank to support the Magnolia Hub. At the same time, I'll be pushing or putting something together in order to get the Queen Anne Hub reestablished and staffed and everything else.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, and a reminder for new people, we do have a Discord that Matt takes care of for us. That is another way to share information and reach out to people. All right, Central Core. Anyone from Central Core? All right, Central East.
We have our own Ann Forrest coming over to MLK Fame Center on April 5th, giving us disaster preparedness : the basics.
From Montlake, they're in the middle of writing a grant for their box. They've been officially given permission to put their hub box on a library property. So that's the first hub at a library that we've had. It's very unusual. It's a very small library, but it's virtually the only open space they have that's not in the middle of a liquefaction zone. So it's kind of a cool milestone for us.
This isn't specific to any particular hub, but since I live in this area, I'll put it in here now, is just that we're trying to put together this like bike exercise. And so I put a bunch of notes in the minutes, but it's going to be like a little loop in West Seattle, and it's going to go by a few hubs and some other places in the area, sort of the Del Ridge area. And so we're looking for hubs to like do like little presentations, or people from hubs. Doesn't have to be West Seattle hubs, but you know, they're in that area. Basically an opportunity for people to, and just to have, get out and, you know, ride and think about bikes in an emergency, but also find out about the hubs. And so they're trying to make it family friendly. So it's an easy route. So if people want to either ride, or if they want to, you know, staff sort of a hub info booth at one of the stops, we're looking for that. The date that they're trying to do it on is May 18th with a June
1st is your backup.
So if anybody's available and they want to reach out to me and I can get you hooked up with the people that are doing more of the organizing, I guess I'm kind of acting as a liaison between the bike people and the hub people.
Thanks, Gina. I would like to learn more about that in the future. You know, Cascade Bike is here in Magnuson Park, right near me. So that would be interesting to connect with a big group and then see if we could connect with some local groups off of that.
Yeah, we could even put together like one of the free group rides on Cascade's website to see if we get some folks from that. I hadn't thought about doing it that way. We've been trying to hook up with their volunteer folks, but like the guy that used to be into the bike stuff has left Cascade. And so we're trying to, you know, re-engage with the new volunteer people there.
Great.
Yeah, I've been working with the Cal Anderson Hub, which is also moving forward as well, and something that I've been discussing with some of the other nearby hubs is doing some type of a social event at one of the local restaurants or something. So if we ever get the date worked out for that, I'll make sure to invite everybody.
Southwest.
John and I, co-captains of the South Highland Park Hub, met with John Murphy, and we made a plan that we actually deployed on March 9th. 11 people on bikes met at our hub, and we talked about 15 minutes about how a hub works. And they then had a practice run. Half the group went to one park, the other half went to another park to see how things would run. We got pictures in response, talked about using radios to stay in contact. And I was really pleased because I think that having bicycles available for message or information gathering would be wonderful. And so we plan to do it again later on this summer.
The West Seattle has a big party, a big block party, the Summer Fest, where they close the entire junction. And we were able to get booth time up there for free. So we're going to be having a booth on Sunday, kind of prime time, 10 to 1. my reminder to everybody is if your neighborhood throws any kind of a Summerfest or block party, it's not too soon to get going and seeing if they will give you free community space. They often have free tent space for nonprofit or, community-based groups. So don't miss the opportunity if you've got that kind of event coming up, because I had my space at Summerfest blocked in by the end of January. Stay tuned, West Seattle people. I'll ask you to come help me staff it.
All right, anyone else Southwest? All right, then we'll move on to Southeast. Anyone here from Southeast?
Yes, I have actually I consider this to be a major announcement. I have recruited a co-captain. It has taken me years, but I have. And her name is Margot Rosenberg. She's really great. And we've had a meeting and we're starting to figure out how to share our duties. So I'm very, very thrilled with that. And the other piece of really good news is my last 2 meetings have had 4 or 5 new people show up at each meeting, and I have been getting emails. I think there's a lot of interest now in joining together to be prepared. It's been a good thing.
All right, then about now, I usually turn it back to Ann and Cindy and see if they have anything else they would like to share or comment on before we wrap up.
I did have one thing that came to mind when Ann was talking about the exercise. Those people who saw the goal of we're going to send upset people and practice the hub. And I could just see everybody who didn't go to psychological first aid going, holy crap. We are working with that instructor to do some extra sessions. Hopefully we can get those in before the exercise. But if you didn't make psych first aid, don't fear. We do have plans to continue doing training in it. It's just taking a little longer to get some Red Cross permissions set in place.
Yeah, that's about the 3rd psychological first aid I have gone to in probably the last 4 or 5 years. And by far the best one if you can get the same guy back, because you learn so much about your own capacities and how you, as a hub captain or hub manager, not captain, but hub manager, can look out for yourself and the other people who are the caregivers. So it's as much for the people coming in as for the people to whom they come to. So if you're on the screen, you haven't gone, sign up for it.
All right, then, everyone, I think we have come to the end of our meeting. Thank you very much. That was a very detailed, packed agenda tonight. Good to see everyone. Thank you, Ann and Cindy, for all you do as always, and for everyone else that's doing stuff for their communities. All right, good night, everyone.
Yeah.